Howdy, 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 guys. I hope y'all are doing fantastic. A good Monday to all of y'all. Man, Monday, October 11th. Let me turn my screen down just a little bit. A little bright. All right, maybe that's a little better. Let me start right off. Well, let me start off with this. SKD 143. I love my wife. I love my kids. I love all the other reality fans out there. I love all of y'all that are out here watching the show as well. Have so much fun on Fun Day nights. Thank y'all for coming out here and sharing it with me. I do appreciate it. Hope y'all are doing fantastic. Monday, October 11th. Today is everything day. Let's just start off. I saw some of the comments already. Well, let's see. Am I looking all right? I think so. Happy Thanksgiving to my Canadian friends out there. Hope y'all are enjoying y'all's Thanksgiving celebrations. I think it's funny that y'all do y'all's a little differently than we do ours in terms of time. We're we're last Thursday in November. Y'all are a little bit earlier. Y'all get to celebrate first. Now for the Canadians that may be watching, I got a little question for you. Do you do turkey or do you just do poutine? Poutine? That's how you pronounce it, right? I need to try some more poutine. I tried it once or twice when I was up in Canada before. Pretty good. French fries and cheese, gravy. Yeah, it's hard to go wrong with that kind of stuff. But yeah, happy Thanksgiving to all of you guys. I hope you're having a special kind of celebration. We got so much stuff to celebrate today, including some stuff that happened over the weekend that I may talk a little bit about. But before we do that, I also wanted just to wish all of y'all happy Columbus Day. But right alongside Happy Columbus Day, also happy Native American, happy Indigenous People Day. I've heard it described both ways. So am I saying happy birthday? Happy Columbus Day for those who came over, and happy Indigenous People Day for everyone who was already over here. So celebrate both of those days. It's also National Coming Out Day. I didn't even realize there was such a day. I don't know that we need a single day for that, right? Any day you should be comfortable speaking your truth. But let's celebrate as well. Happy National Coming Out Day. And today is also National Sausage Pizza Day. I say national. It may be international. It deserves an international nod as well. Man, I love me some sausage pizza. I kind of like the pepperonis, but I have never turned down a sausage pizza ever as well. When I was over in the Middle East, I had some strange pizzas. I remember I had a squid pizza once, which actually was pretty good, but not what you're normally used to. I've had some super hot, spicy pizzas. When I was in India, I was waiting at the airport to come back home, and they've got a lot of spices and curries and everything over there. And I decided to order a pizza at the airport Domino's they had there. Got the pizza delivered to me, and went to sit down. It was a chicken pizza. They don't have beef or anything over there they just don't eat cows or beef. But it's chicken pizza, which sounded really good, but they had curry sauce on top of the pizza as well. So I just couldn't escape the curry, which I normally love most of the time. But after a week or two, you want a little diversion. So happy International Sausage Day as well. All right. With all that being said, as I was kind of waiting for some people to come in and all of that, let me see who all's out here. Because I know I got all kinds of folks. I'm already sitting here looking at that. Maureen, howdy, Maureen, and welcome. You've been out here since 6:30. Oh, my friends, y'all guys. Alicia as well. Don, howdy, Don. How are you? Marilyn, Brian Hostetter. Hey, Brian, how are you? David Buchanan, happy Thanksgiving to you, my friend. Ma's out here. Anthony Stike. Jake Patton, man, all my friends out here. I hope y'all are doing fantastic today. Miss Birthday Girl, I always like that login ID. That's our login ID. It's a great one. Travel the World. Well, welcome, Travel the World. I love to travel so much. I did Big Brother, but Amazing Race would always be a lot of fun as well. I love traveling. I absolutely do. Joyce Grinstead, Belle, Paula Scar. Hey, Paula. Sunny. Welcome all y'all. Chaz as well. Howdy, Chaz. How are you? Miss Pina Phantom. Let's see. And OK Painter. All right. I think I covered it all for now. I can't get all you. Welcome to all of y'all. And welcome to all of y'all who are watching this on replay as well. I haven't forgotten about you. Welcome to y'all as well. I hope y'all had a fantastic weekend. I know I did. It was a lot of stuff going on this weekend. And it was, we're going to talk about who is that? Marthika Nard. Hello, Mr. Cliff. What's up for tonight? Well, we'll talk about what y'all want to talk about to some degree. I feel like I'm sitting a little low to y'all. Let me change this a little bit. So you can see my Aggie shirt, right? You gotta show off a little bit. My old Aggies did pretty well this evening or Saturday. We'll talk about that as well. But no, I don't know. We'll talk about whatever y'all want to. I've got a few things. Y'all know me. I've always got something to talk about, right? There's not a lot of times, even while I was in the Big Brother house or sitting out here, that I sit here and say, silence. That's okay. I'm kind of the talker. My family will tell you that I get in my quiet moments, and I did it while I was inside the Big Brother house. Sometimes you just have to get away and just say, "Stop talking to me, stop trying to strategize with me, I just want to be alone and I just want to be quiet for a second." There's nothing wrong with being quiet, but Monday nights aren't my night for being quiet. So yeah, I got all kinds of stuff I wanted to talk about. We talked about all the special things that we're celebrating today. And of course, as a few of y'all have already pointed out, I had a little celebrating of my own going on this weekend. My Texas A&M Aggies played the number 1 ranked University of Alabama Crimson Tide, and we won on a last-second field goal. Woo! It was so much fun. I had a blast watching the game. Now, as a lot of y'all probably know, I went to A&M. My wife went to A&M. My son went to A&M. My daughter went to the University of Texas. And so we started off, Texas played Oklahoma, a big rivalry game. Watched the 2 of those. And unfortunately for my daughter, Texas got beat very last second. So we didn't start off with the most positive part of football. But then later that night, man, A&M played. I had so much fun watching the game. I hope y'all, some of y'all may watch. Some of y'all don't care at all. And that's okay. I get it as well. But now it's fun watching the game. It's funny, though, because as I was watching, and here's the background. You can see that people just stormed the field after we won that game on that last second field goal. So much fun watching it. But it made me think a little bit when I was inside the, who's that? OK Painter Boomer Sooners. Well, with that kind of ID name, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, the Sooners came back and won that thing. That game is always close. No matter who wins, that game is always a close game, it seems like. But yeah, while I was inside the Big Brother house, I had a lot of fun. There was one night I knew A&M was getting ready to play football. They wouldn't tell me the score. They wouldn't tell us anything while we were inside there. I begged and pleaded. They said, "Yeah, Cliff, we can't give you any scores or updates or anything." But I led a little yell practice inside the house. And yell practice is what they do, yells, pass it up. So the whole crowd does the same yell at the same time and everything. And I had everyone that was in the house. It was Tommy and Holly and Mickey and Jessica and Nicole. So I guess we were down to the Christy wasn't there. How's that funny? How does that work out that Christy had to be there if Jessica was there because they both went on double eviction. Maybe she was in the diary room, or maybe she just didn't want to have anything to do with me. But with the yell practice on. But I did yell practice, let everyone in the house, did a bunch of different cheers. We call them yells, but did a bunch of different cheers, and we just had fun. Every time I think about A&M, every time I think about Big Brother, I kind of think about those 2 events together. We all did so much in the house. I talked about A&M, and I carried around Orwell. I did things trying to just kind of break up the monotony a little bit. Tommy did his flash dances, which was kind of interesting, me trying to learn all those steps and everything. But Tommy did all his different flash dance steps and things like that. Holly did all kinds of cooking. We all had our own ways to blow off a little steam while we're in there, and had fun doing all of it. All right, so Anthony's saying, "I feel for Kelly. My Hokies lost the same way as UT." Yeah, that's the beauty about football. You got such high moments where you're just so excited, and others where it doesn't quite work out as well. But that's life, right? All right, a couple of questions. Maryland Southern. Been watching old seasons. Do they tell you to go to the memory board after each eviction? No, Maryland, they don't. That was I don't know. Why did we do that during our season? I think it was just it just seemed like the polite thing to do. Just to take that moment or two. It was always, they go out the door and you try to look through the door. And it's amazing because when they walked out the door during my season, they still had the live audience. It was before COVID and all of that. And so during my season, whoever was leaving, they'd open the door. We'd all poke our heads out and try to see the crowds out there just to see some faces other than those same old people you saw over and over again. And I'll never forget one time, I don't remember which eviction it was, but I remember one time when I looked out, there was one guy and he just seemed like he was looking at me And I was looking at him. And that was it. There wasn't anything said. It wasn't like he gave me a wave or anything. It was just a visual contact of just connecting with someone that was different than someone who I'd been with for the last 3 months in that house. And I'll never forget that guy. And I have no clue who he is. And he probably doesn't have a clue that I even remember his face. But that just little moment of saying, it's someone that's not playing Big Brother that's just sitting out there watching us. How cool. But no, after the eviction, they walk out the door. No one told us to go to the memory board. We would just go there just as a way of saying, I don't know, not bon voyage or anything, but just a way of saying, it's just a moment of taking time out and saying, you're gone, but you're not forgotten. Maybe that's the best way to say it. Now, no one ever told us. It just seemed like the right thing to do. And we always took a few minutes. I don't know that there was ever a time that anyone ever got evicted where the second they walked out the door, we all turned around and, finally, we got him out of that. I don't remember that. I think there was always enough respect for everyone else playing the game that we never did. And then obviously later, after we had a chance or two, then we'd celebrate sometimes. But we always gave just that moment or two to think about it, as much as I recall. So there you go. The very long answer to your question. All right, Sonny's saying, rewatching The Sopranos has taken away my postseason Big Brother blues. A great show worth rewatching. Yeah, it's been so long since I've seen that show. I'd like to go back and see it. I got to say, I'm not sure I ever actually saw the very last season of The Sopranos. I know everything about it. It's hard not to know, but I'm not sure I actually saw the last bit of it. But I love the Sopranos. James Gandolfini is just, what a perfect choice casting for that show. And the music, that theme song, as soon as I hear that theme song of The Sopranos, it's just spot on. It's so perfect. Yeah, I need to rewatch as well. I've heard everyone is back to watching it, and I'll do the same thing. I couldn't watch The Sopranos, though, or rewatch it because I was busy finishing up the Squid Game. Oh, my gosh, guys. I told y'all last week that I'd started watching. I think I'd maybe only watched 2 episodes at the time, maybe an episode and a half or so. And so I went ahead and finished just right before the weekend started because I knew I'd be busy with college football. But we sat down and we watched the rest of the season of Squid Games. I think it's 9 episodes total. So we binged on it a little bit. And I'm not giving away any spoilers whatsoever because that would not be fair or fun, either one. It was equal parts fun and creepy watching that show. I mean, it's not so different, I suppose, than Hunger Games or Battle Royale or some of these other shows. It's all about people going after each other and all. It's not so different than Big Brother, except we get to walk away at the end and not so much on that show. But no, it was very interesting just to see how humans interact under stressful situations. And again, not so different than Big Brother in some ways. You know, we're put in high stress situations. What do you do? How brutal are you going to be? How compassionate are you going to be if it's risking your game or your life? And so now I like it. If y'all haven't seen it, and you can handle a fair amount of violence, because I wouldn't let little kids watch it. I'll put it that way. There's no way I'd do that. It was a rough show to watch, but I enjoyed watching it. All right, Paula Scar, what is your best memory from your season? Wow, Paula, you know, it's hard to not throw out day 30, which started off so badly when I got booted from the house, when they chose to keep Nicole over myself. And it wasn't it kind of was a blind side. I wasn't certain, but I suspected something was up. But it started off so poorly. But then when I won that battle back, I knew I was back in the house. And then right after that, I won the HOH and suddenly knew that I wasn't just back in the house. I was actually in power, because when I got back in the house, I thought, all right, well, great. I'm back in, but something's going on I'm not completely certain about and I'm not aware of. So there's a good chance they may just turn around and boot me again this next week. And so I thought, all right, well, I survived a week, but yeah, I still don't have much hope for the rest of the game. So even though I won the battle back and I kind of made my mark, I still was not feeling very good about myself until I won HOH. And when that happened, and suddenly it's like, well, I may still go home in a couple of weeks, but at least before I do, I'm going to get to put on the robe. I'm going to get to shower in the HOH room. I'm going to get to have some control over this game. So suddenly everything was just glorious. So that's got to be my favorite memory while I was in the house. But beyond that, I don't know, some of the competitions. There's just so many of these comps. OTEV with Kat and I doing our whole little Hallmark moment and everything. It's just not, it wasn't planned or anything. It's just one of those things that happens. There's so many of those little things that every time I can think about it, it just brings a smile. I get a smile thinking about some of those. I don't dwell so much on the really high stress moments when we had to make that decision between Holly and Tommy, or where people are yelling. I mean, I remember them, and it's not that I've forgotten, but those aren't really my go-to moments when I'm thinking about what my Big Brother experience was like. It's all the events and the competitions and all. And there were fun things, like when I did the moon landing, recreated it. As I think about everything that was the most fun was probably in the yell practice. Not everything that was most fun was kind of when everyone in that house was together and kind of playing and having fun with each other. So that may be my my favorite one of all. All right, let's see what else. Yeah, imagine winning a battle back and an HOH. Geez, boss, I don't have to imagine it anymore. I lived it. I don't know that I could ever recreate it again. It's just a perfect storm of situations, conditions, a perfect HOH for me. Yeah, it was fantastic. All right, Philly Dog MM2, huge Big Brother fan. Well, Philly Dog, you came to the right place, because even though the Big Brother season's over, as you can tell, we still talk Big Brother. We'll always talk Big Brother. We'll talk about other stuff as well, but we'll always talk Big Brother. Speaking of, to my Canadian friends out there, they are still accepting applications. I saw a quick little interview with Robin Cass talking about that. They're still doing applications for Big Brother Canada. I'm excited. I love Big Brother Canada almost as much as I love Big Brother US. It's a lot harder to watch. Live feeds and all that. It's tough for us down here in the States, but if you're up in Canada, you're over 21. I think it's 21 up there as well as down here. You ought to consider trying out. And then I'll be cheering you on and be so happy that someone that watches Cliff Notes Live is on Big Brother Canada. Oh, that would be so cool. That would be amazing. All right, Chaz is saying, if you could choose your partner for the Amazing Race other than your wife, who should it be? All right, well, first of all, as much as I'd love to travel around the world with my wife, and I would do that in a heartbeat. But in terms of Amazing Race, I'm not sure Sharon would want to do the Amazing Race with me. She's not the kind that's going to be jumping out of airplanes or eating weird food combinations and things like that. So my first choice would probably be for Amazing Race would be it'd have to be my kids, my son and my daughter. I'd love to see both of them do it together, which would be fun. Forgive me. I mean, I know that there's people who want to see me. I'd love to see my son Daniel, my daughter Kelly, do Amazing Race as a team. But if I'm on it, doing it with either one of them would just be amazing. I'd have a blast with them, and they're both so smart. They're smart. They would handle the traveling and the puzzles and everything very well. And they're also just a little more athletic than me. And when I say a little, I mean a whole lot more athletic, both of them. I'd have a hard time keeping up when they started taking off, running down to the next clue or pit stop or whatever. But I'd try. I'd fall over at some point, but I'd keep on trying. If I couldn't deal with them, it'd have to be some Big Brother or just some reality TV people. There'd be a lot of folks that it'd be fun to do it with. And I've said this before in here, I really don't care who. Well, I care who I do it with. I'd certainly love to do it with family and all that, but it'd be fun. I would work with whoever I could on Amazing Race. It would be fun. However, I got partnered up. It'd be fun no matter what. All right, let's see what else is going on. Paula, do they give you a copy of the live feeds? If so, anything surprise you? No, they didn't give us a copy. I didn't even get a copy of the actual show itself. Now I know I can go ahead and find it on Paramount Plus, and I actually have a copy now. But yeah, no, they did not give us a copy of the live feeds. We did go in. I didn't have anything to do with it. My wife and kids did go in and record a whole lot of the Big Brother After Dark episode. You know, that was from 9 to midnight or something like that, Central Time, I think. And so they recorded a lot of that, which is kind of the live feeds just on the TV. And so I've got those to go back to. But no, the live feeds, we didn't get it. And now it's no longer on the CBS site, which is a disappointment. It'd be cool if it was still out there, but it never lasts it only lasts until the next season comes along. So I watched some of the live feeds. Did anything surprise me? Yeah, a whole lot of stuff surprised me. But I've heard about, I think I've heard about most of it. I'll tell you what surprised me more than anything else, and this maybe affected my end game a little bit. I really thought at the end of towards the end of the season, I thought that no one viewed me as much of a threat in front of the jury, arguing a case and everything. I really thought a lot of people would potentially be willing to take me to a final two just because they thought for certain they could beat me. And when I say a lot of people, I'm thinking Mickey. I'm thinking maybe Christy and Tommy. Obviously they wanted to take each other, but I thought that both of them thought that if they absolutely things just went bad, that they'd rather take me over Mickey. And I just felt there were a lot of people that say, we'll take Cliff. There's no way he can win this thing. And then when I got out and I started watching some of the live feeds and hearing people, some of their conversations they had saying, oh, we can't take Cliff to a final two. He'll win the jury and all that. That was kind of cool feeling that I kind of underestimated my own play, I guess, and my own strengths and everything while I was in the house, because they were a lot more worried about it than I was thinking they were, which again, it maybe affected my game a little bit, but that surprised me a little bit because I just didn't think anyone else was taking me that seriously while I was in the house, but I guess they did. All right, let's see. Amanda Lowe saying, how brutal was the boredom in Big Brother when there was nothing to do? Amanda, that was the one part. I've watched Big Brother forever, so I knew the competitions, I knew the backstabbing, the strategies. I thought at least that I understood all those parts of the game. The part that I hadn't really been able to grasp was how much downtime there is. Because when you watch the episodes, everything's action packed, right? When you watch the live feeds, if it gets too boring, you go eat a sandwich or go outside, you go down to the store, you do something else for a little while, and you come back and something's going on. You can't do that in the house. It was horribly boring in there. You really only had a few big events every week. You'd have the eviction, you'd have the HOH, which normally was on Thursday. Friday, you'd have the nomination ceremony, which took all of an hour or whatever, a couple hours. Saturday, you'd have the veto competition, which that took half the day. And then you'd have the veto ceremony on Monday. And that's it. And the rest of the time, there's nothing to do except just sit around. And yeah, it was tough. Even worse when we didn't have the backyard. When the backyard was open, at least you could go outside. You could see the birds flying overhead, hear some airplanes, and get some cool breeze coming on, hitting you in the face and all that. When those doors were locked and we were just stuck inside, the days would just drag on. I remember all the time people saying, oh my gosh, when is 10 o'clock ever going to get here? I am so ready just to go get in bed, because we had to stay up till 10. That was Big Brother rules. Saying, oh, I just can't wait till 10 comes so we can get in bed. Well, then 10 o'clock would come, no one would go get in bed. They'd all stay up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning anyway. So it was tough. It was even worse that I couldn't talk to my family or anyone else when I really wanted to talk to them so badly. So yeah, the boredom was hard. And that's why we did all the things. That's why I did my yell practices and Tommy did his dances and all that, just trying to do anything we could to break up the time inside that house. I even did a little, we had our fashion show. I forgot about the fashion show. Do you remember that? I think that was that during my HOH? Maybe. We had a fashion show, and that's where, unfortunately, I'm sure my family will say, unfortunately, I had to, as part of a tiebreaker, I had to do a little twerking in front of a national audience. Who would have thunk that from old Cliff Hogg? But yeah, we did all kinds of fun stuff in that house. All right. Travel the World saying, I hope Amazing Race comes back in 2022. I love that show. Me too. I actually have heard that they've maybe started up new production. I try to keep up with, Twitter and all that. And apparently they've started up maybe getting ready for a season. I don't know if they're going to take, how horrible is it the people that did, I think they did 2 or 3 episodes, contestants, did 2 or 3 episodes and then COVID hit and they had to shut it down. And so I don't know if they'll bring those contestants back to finish up the season, or that's just the lost season. We'll never see them. How unfortunate would that be? I'd feel so sorry for those people. I feel sorry for the Big Brother Canada. Was it season 8 that did during the first summer of COVID? Isn't that horrible? We now have to say the first summer of COVID versus the second summer. But the first summer of COVID, when they got shut down, didn't get to finish their season. I met some of them in August at the boxing exhibition, the Big Brother boxing that we had up in Arlington, Texas. I met a couple of them, and I still feel sorry for those contestants that didn't really get to play the Big Brother game all the way through. But it's a strange year, strange couple of years, right? All right, Steph 640. I think they were afraid you'd beat them. Your jury management was good. Well, that's what I was counting on. I mean, I will say I spent a lot of time throughout the entire season trying to figure out exactly what I'd say if I made it to that spot. And I really think it would have been hard to beat Mickey or Tommy because they were so like, well, no, I'm not going to say that. It would have been hard to beat them because Mickey had won so many competition victories. Tommy was well liked. They were both members of that big alliance, and I thought, all those alliance members, they're going to want, as much as they talked about how they had the most amazing alliance in Big Brother history, I really thought, oh my gosh, they're going to vote for, if anyone from that alliance is in a final two, they're going to vote for them just as a way to prove that they had such an amazing, fantastic alliance. That's what was going through my head. So I was a little bit worried about it, but I truly thought that if I got in front of the jury, I had a decent chance. I feel pretty comfortable about my ability to present some arguments, some speeches, and things like that. And I thought there was a good chance that I could sway enough people to maybe win the thing. And I was going to go in. I had it all figured out. I was going to go in and talk about, hey, I was from day number one, I was the target. I never could. Some of y'all were able to coast. Y'all didn't have to do anything for the first half of the season because just alliance fell in your laps. I was targeted on day one. I had to fight from day one all the way to the very last day, and the old guys never won it. I've done better, and I had it all worked out. And I thought I would have had a chance, but coulda, shoulda, woulda, and we'll never know for certain. But yeah, I spent a little time thinking about what I would have said, and maybe somewhere down the road I can still use that speech in some other season or something. And we'll find out. All right, Josh Cohen. Why didn't you like the names Cliff's Angels? Yeah, I went on and on about that. Josh, well, here's the thing. There's a couple of reasons I didn't like the name Cliff's Angels. First of all, I know that everyone likes to see these alliances with these fancy little cutesy names and everything. I didn't want to be necessarily in an alliance that had a name attached to it. Even before Cliff's Angels, when we had the Fellowship of the Zing, with Ovi and Nicole and myself, I would have been perfectly happy to just said, we're in a 3-person alliance and left it to that and never given a name to it. But Ovi really wanted to have an alliance with a name to it. And whatever. I'm not going to say no, but I just feel like when you've got an alliance that actually has a name, it becomes that much more of a threat to other people. It becomes that much more likely that other people are going to find out about it, that they're going to take it more seriously. If you just say, oh, I think those 3 people are working together, that's one thing. If you say, oh, those 3 people are in an alliance, they're calling it the Fellowship of the Zing, well, then suddenly that carries a lot more weight, and it seems a lot more formal when you've got a name to it. So I would have been happy not having an alliance of any name. And that's kind of what we did for a while there. Mickey and Holly and Nicole and I were working as a group of 4. And we were kind of watching out for each other and helping each other out. And it worked to all of our advantage. But we never had a name. The 4 of us were just, we'll be Final Four something. But we never named that alliance. And I think that worked out well. So that's one reason. I don't like names at all to begin with. But then, and I think it's Kat who came up with Cliff's Angels. The problem about that specific name was by putting my name in the alliance, it very much made it seem like I was the ringleader. And that's not what I wanted. If someone found out about Cliff's Angels, well, what are they going to think? Well, Cliff must have organized this one. He must be behind it. Well, that's the guy that's got to go, right? I didn't want everyone to think I was the head person on the other side of any alliance and create just that much more reason for them to boot me out. So if they'd wanted to call it the Dude and the Angels or something, well, maybe that would have been okay. I like the name. And I loved working with those 3 ladies. Don't get me wrong. And I love some of the shots we did. Now, I had a blast being in that group, and I wish we could have carried that alliance a little bit further. Unfortunately, they kept putting us up against each other. Well, why would they do that? So I wasn't opposed to the alliance itself or who I was in the alliance. And even the name, I think it's cool now that I'm out of the house. But at the time, I just thought it was going to put a huge target on my back by having the name Cliff's Angels as opposed to just something a little bit more generic. All right, let's see. Carp DM. Howdy, Cliff. I'm late at work till 11, so taking a break to listen to you. Well, thank you. I appreciate you taking out your valuable break time just to listen to me. I appreciate it. And I hope you have a good, reasonable night at work. So thank you. Appreciate it. All right, Steffi. Did you know while you were in the house that you were heard talking to the camera at night? I knew that the cameras were always watching us. Yeah, I think if I understand your question, I've watched enough live feeds that, yeah, I knew the cameras, there wasn't any time that the cameras weren't potentially watching. Yeah, it's kind of weird when I would go to bed at night thinking, well, are the cameras going to be on me or are they going to be on some of the other people in the house? That part, I didn't know specific times when the camera's on. And no one ever said, all right, Cliff, you're on the camera, or all right, no one ever told us when the cameras were on us or not. And lots of times you kind of had a hint because as you'd walk by a camera, the camera would go and follow along as you walk by. So at least I knew there was someone behind a control board somewhere recording or watching in case I said anything interesting or relevant or whatever. But there were other times the cameras that were behind the glass mirrors and things like that, or the windows, I never knew for certain if they were recording me or not, but I just always assumed they were. There's never a time where I said, they're not recording us at this point in time. I always figured they were on. There's other people in the house that I just never could quite get that message to, who thought that during certain activities, during certain romantic interludes, that certainly the cameras wouldn't be on them during those kind of activities, right? And I really wanted to tell them, say, nah, you're good. Nah, they would never show that, and just kind of mess with them a little bit. But I didn't want to do that, and I didn't want to create any problems. I told some people, said, don't ever assume those cameras aren't on. You better assume that anything you do in this house is going to be shown on TV. There's nothing off limits, so you just better get into that mentality. Nah, they either didn't believe me or they didn't care, because there's still some people who did some things on the camera I wouldn't have done. We'll just leave it at that. But no one ever told us when the cameras were on. I always assumed they were on, especially at night. And in the morning when I was doing my Cliff Notes, I knew I was the only person up. So I really figured the cameras, surely they had to be on me during the mornings, right? Didn't realize that Christy was also listening right alongside the cameras, but live and learn. All right, let's see what else. Anthony Stike. You're underestimating your own game. Is why everyone was scared to take you to Final Two. They knew you would win. Well, that makes me feel kind of cool being told that. Thank you. I appreciate it. And I without sounding arrogant or cocky, I do think there's some people who thought that, and I kind of think that to some degree. It wouldn't have been a slam dunk. There were people who could have made a strong argument, but yeah, I felt like I could hold my own if it came down to it. So never got the chance. Now against Tommy or Mickey, it would have been tough. I really think that I really think if it had been Holly or Nicole, I think I could argue my way into a victory. Christy, I don't know. I think she may have said a few things too, but we'll never know. And that's okay. Amanda, why did they make you stay up until 10? I guess they just wanted good TV, Amanda. That was one of the rules that we had in the house, is you had to stay up until 10 o'clock. And in the mornings, they woke us up at different times, and it depended on what was happening during the day. If there wasn't anything going on, if it was a Tuesday during the week, we normally could sleep till 10 o'clock or so. So they'd let us stay in bed a little bit longer than normal. If it was a nomination day, normally they'd wake us up at 9. If it was a veto competition, sometimes 9. Sometimes veto competitions, they'd wake us up at 8 o'clock in the morning. And here's what's funny. They would wake us up bright and early, like 8:30 in the morning or so, or 8 in the morning. They would wake us up, and we immediately would have to head into the living room to have our picks for the veto competition, which 6 people are going to be competing in veto competition. And so if you watch our season, and it may be other seasons as well, I need to go back and check, but our season during the veto draw, you see a lot of people wearing pajamas, half asleep. Kat would come stumbling in 5 seconds before they started filming, and she'd be half asleep, saying morning. And we used to give her a hard time about that. because they would do that super early on Saturday morning. And the reason they did that is because they had to have enough time, once they knew who the 6 people competing were, they had to have enough time to then take whoever was competing and knowing our sizing and measurements and all that, then go off to wherever wardrobe or whoever. I mean, remember, this is a film studio, so they've got all kinds of wardrobe and things like that. They would have to figure out who was competing early enough that they could then go and have our costumes made, our outfits made for the veto competition. And I always tried to kind of monitor that. And, you know, if they woke us up early and did it early, then I immediately was thinking, all right, well, this is going to be some kind of competition that involves us wearing an outfit as opposed to just wearing regular clothes. Now, for the most part, most of the veto competitions, we did wear costumes or outfits. Whereas with HOH, a lot of them we just wore regular clothing. But obviously, if I'm competing in a veto competition as opposed to, say, Nicole competing in a veto competition, the costumes aren't interchangeable. They have to have them sized for whoever's competing. So, yeah, so we'd wake up anywhere from 8 to 10, depending on what was happening that day. But we always had to go to bed or couldn't go to bed before 10 o'clock at night. And it's just because they didn't want us just sleeping around and doing nothing in the house. And especially because it was nighttime, you know, prime time hours. I think they wanted to make sure we were doing something to try to make it interesting for all the live feed viewers who are watching, you know, in the evenings when they weren't working and things like that. And that's one of the reasons Big Brother After Dark would sometimes send in, they sent in cookies. So we did a little cookie decorating. They sent in a giant Jenga, and they'd sometimes give us beer at night. And it was all just done to try to get us a little more active during those evening hours. All right. Chaz saying, do you think Big Brother should implement different advantages in the way Survivor has this season? Wouldn't that be cool? Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some little twists. And we saw a little bit of it this season with the high roller, where you could actually get money from the viewers and then use that to gamble to win an advantage. So, yeah, they've tried a little bit, and I liked it. I'd love to see some different advantages of that sort. I've always thought it'd be cool if, and I've mentioned, I think on the show before, I've always thought it'd be kind of cool if they said, okay, you're going to win $750,000 if you win Big Brother, but each week, if you want to buy a little advantage, or maybe not every week, maybe just 1 or 2 weeks, if you want to buy an advantage, it's going to cost you $50,000, and it'll give you a little hint or something that'll help you in the veto or the HOH competition. But if you buy it with that $50,000, that comes off your winnings at the end. If you don't win at the end, well, then no harm. You just don't get the money anyway. But if you win at the end and you bought some of these advantages, you win less than that. And I've always thought that'd be kind of cool because, one, it's easy to say, well, yeah, $750,000 versus $700,000. I'm going to buy any advantage I can, and I probably would if I was playing the game. But there's still a party saying, man, do I really want to spend $50,000 right now just so I can get a 3-second head start or something on whatever the next event's going? Or even worse, what if your alliance really needed you to win this particular victory and they're saying, Cliff, we need you to spend the money. We need you to buy that advantage because you got to help us out. And I'm sitting there saying, well, I really don't want to spend $50,000 to save this person over here. I just keep it myself. So it put a little more pressure on you. So yeah, that's the long answer. The short answer is, yeah, I'd like to see some twists. That's one of the things I love about Survivor is every season's different. They've had Exile Island and they do some of the same things over and over again. But every season they also have some of these. Every season they got a little different twist that adds a new strategy element to the game. I love this season. I'm watching Survivor. For those of you who don't know, I'm doing a recap. I typically drop it every Wednesday night, sometime after the episode's premiered. But I love the 3-way immunity idol that they've got this season where you find an advantage, but it doesn't come into play unless someone from each of the other 2 tribes also finds the advantage. Once all 3 people find it, well, then all 3 of you have an immunity idol. I love it. I think that's a pretty cool deal. We'll see how that plays out. So we'll see it. All right, Steffi640. Cliff, who snored and kept people awake most? Well, people didn't tell me to my face, but that could have been me. I've been known to snore once or twice. Now, I did have, was it Jack and Mickey at one point said that yes, I snored, but my snoring was very smoothing. My snore was very soothing because I was very rhythmic. It was just a nice, drawn-out snore. Yeah, I think they were just kissing up to me. But they said that they said other people, such as Ovi, apparently had a little bit more, a little more jump and start and everything to snoring, which they said was a little more, kept them awake a little bit more. I don't know. I worried about that. I was willing to sleep out in the front bedroom just to get away because I didn't want to get booted from the house just because someone said, Cliff snores too much. We can't sleep. That was a huge fear of mine. So, yeah, it may have been me, but the other people may tell you differently. All right, Brian, you do realize that Big Brother 21 was the last live audience. I know it. It's been 2 years. I was kind of hoping, but by the time we got to the end of the summer, and into the fall, I knew it wasn't going to be a live audience for the finale or anything else. It's just the way it is. California still has a lot of regulations in place and everything, but here's the hoping that that's the last we have of that. Here's the hoping that Big Brother Canada has a live audience, and here's the hoping that Big Brother 23 has a live audience as well. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this COVID situation. I'm ready to move on safely. But, hopefully as people continue to get immunized, vaccinated, we got to be at the end, right? Yeah, I know it's been 2 years. I'm very grateful and happy that I got to do my season before COVID hit, before we had so many restrictions, because we got to do things that we got to do the backyard interviews. We got to do a lot of stuff that people haven't been able to do for the past 2 seasons. So, yeah, it's been a crazy couple of years, hadn't it? All right, let's see what's Anthony, I think you would have beaten Mickey, but maybe not Tommy. Nah, I kind of, I'm not going to disagree with you. Tommy was good. I know people criticize me saying, oh, why in the world did you get rid of Tommy instead of Holly? They were a big duo and all. Yeah, I know Holly and Mickey, they were like this. I get all of that, but Tommy had me so worried. Even before I found out that he and Christy were an item, knew each other. Even before that, I knew Tommy was so well liked by the people who were going to be on that jury. My nightmare scenario, hear me out on this. My nightmare scenario, and one of the reasons I went to send Tommy out instead of Holly, because my worst fear was a final 4 of Mickey and Tommy and Nicole and myself, because I just thought there was too strong a chance that Tommy could win that final 4 HOH. And I know he promised he'd throw it. I didn't believe that for a second. And here's Tommy now with HOH, and then Mickey's so strong in comps. He wins a veto competition, as he ended up doing. And now they're picking between myself and Nicole. And I kind of figured at that point, I didn't. I figured there's a good chance that if Tommy had the say, he'd keep Nicole. If Mickey had the say, maybe he would have kept me. But either way, if we gotten in that situation, suddenly I'm in a final 3 with Mickey and Tommy and myself. That was my worst nightmare because, yeah, I agree. Tommy would have been so hard to beat in a jury round. And Mickey as well. He would have. Y'all got to remember, I know Mickey's caught a lot of grief and all that. That guy went to the University of Tennessee, was getting ready to go to law school. He was smarter than he let on in terms of some. I mean, his strategy play was fantastic most of the time. Jury management, not always so much, but I knew Mickey was going to be able to get in there and give a pretty good argument. And he had the competition wins behind him to boost his resume on that part. So, yeah, I'd like to think I could beat him, but it wasn't going to be easy. And being in a final 3 with Mickey and Tommy just would have been an absolute nightmare. Because I think either one of them maybe would have taken me to a final 2 over the other one because I think they were also scared of each other. But I'm not sure I would have beat either one of them. It would have been tough. All right, Chaz, do you have a player you're rooting for on Survivor yet this season? I'm going back and forth, Chaz. I don't know. My initial at the start of the season, who did I say? I think I said JD and Nasir were my 2 favorites just based on the pregame interviews, their official bios on CBS and all of that. And I'm not sure that's really changed. I like JD. I think he's made a few mistakes. JD is too trusting on that game. He's told too many people about his advantages. Now Evie knows about it. Shan knows about it. There's people that shouldn't know about all the powers he has. And they gave him a hard time saying, you didn't even trust us. How can we trust you if you don't trust us? It's the game of Survivor. The information is gold, just like Big Brother. So I wouldn't have told anyone anything this early in the game because you don't know who you can trust just yet. So I don't think JD's playing a perfect game, but I just think he's just a fun guy. I've enjoyed watching him play. I knew I would watch him. Nasir, I felt like he was going to be the hard worker, and he was going to come in and really just his background was going to captivate people, and I thought he was going to do well. He's kind of isolated himself more from his tribe than I think he should have done. So I enjoy watching him play. I'm not betting on either one of them to win right now. There's some good players. Shan. I can't remember now exactly. Chantel, but I feel like she's put herself in a pretty good position. She's got all these people that are kind of listening to her and everything, and so I don't know. We're so early in the process, and we haven't seen the tribes interact with each other just yet. But there's some players that have surprised me. David Voci, who got sent home last week. I thought he was just going to be a train wreck. I thought he's going to be the guy that's just going to create chaos. He had called himself the new Russell Hanson. You start calling yourself that, you're bound for failure. Well, he failed. I mean, he didn't last, but he actually played a lot stronger game than I thought he would, just in those few weeks we saw. But yeah, I've loved it so far. All right, let's see what else we have on here. Amanda, did they ask what kind of groceries you wanted? No, they didn't ask us anything. I have a feeling Mickey and Jack probably were in that diary room a lot more than I realized asking. They may have made all kinds of requests, and Big Brother probably granted their request. No, they didn't ask me anything. The only thing I did every once in a while, I'd go in there and say, "Oh man, can y'all get some more milk?" And they'd say, "Yeah, we'll get you some more milk, Cliff." But or they wouldn't even say that. They'd say, "Yeah, we'll see what we can do." And normally it'd show up. But now most of the groceries, you just got whatever they brought in. Now I know there's some people like I think Kat was the one who wanted gluten-free bread. If you had dietary restrictions or requirements, then they would go out of their way to help you out with that. Tommy was highly allergic to peanuts, so we kept a jar of jelly in the refrigerator just for Tommy. So there wasn't any chance someone would accidentally take a knife for peanut butter and jelly, stick a knife with peanut butter into the jelly jar. He had his own special jelly jar. So they would help you out in terms of dietary issues. But in terms of, I'd love to get some Cheetos in here, man, we didn't get any of that. All right, Christine, I hated that Christy was listening to you and told on you. Yeah, me too. That wasn't my shining moment, was it? Yeah, no, that was rough. The worst part, and maybe that's one of the worst parts of my season. Not even when I found out that Mickey was going to evict me instead of keeping his promise. That wasn't a complete surprise. I was thinking that was a possibility. It may have been the worst when Nicole came up to me and said, "Hey, just so you know, they know about our alliance. Christy overheard you." I think she said, "Christy overheard you. She told Kimmy. Kimmy told me, and they know everything." It's like, oh my gosh. Not only have I ruined my own game, but I've ruined you and Ovi as well. So yeah, that was tough. But here's the thing. In some ways, it actually helped. Short term, it didn't. That's probably one of the reasons they gave us an excuse to target me that week when they sent me out over Nicole and all that. It's probably one of the reasons they used as an excuse to put me up next to Kat in week one. So short term, it's horrible. But fortunately, Christy, as big a mouth as I've got, Christy's is every bit as big. Insert jokes here. Christy should have kept quiet. She could have come to me and said, "Cliff, I heard everything. I'm not going to tell anyone because I want to work with you." There's so much she could have done to buy me in or leverage me into helping her out and granting some favors for her. We could have done a lot of stuff. She could have gotten a lot of stuff out of it. But instead, she had to just go and blab to everyone else. And it really, at that point when she did it, is when I thought, well, Christy's just, she's really seeking approval from everyone else. And I think that's why she told everyone. She wanted them to know that she was bringing this information, that she was a valuable player on a team and all that. And so I really kept that in mind whenever I considered how I was going to work with Christy. In the back of my head, even when it was whether or not I thought Christy was going to use her diamond power veto, I sat there and thought, well, based on what she's already done about blabbing on me and all that, she so much wants to seek the approval from everyone else in an alliance. She'll probably use the power just because she doesn't want to be criticized or yelled at for not using the power. So her doing that really affected the way I looked at her for the rest of the season. But it worked out to my advantage because the other thing too, after she heard me, she didn't go back the next morning and listen again, or the next morning again. She could have gotten so much if she just kept waiting and listening. Instead, she told everyone. Mickey got up the next morning, snuck over by the door, and listened to me talk again. But fortunately, while Mickey was there is when I was talking about how I really want to work with Mickey and Holly. I don't trust anyone else in that alliance. Those are the two I want to go to the end with, and saying good and positive things about Mickey, which he later told me he had overheard. And that's what made him really know that he and I could work a little bit further and trust each other a little bit more. Yeah, it didn't pay off in the end, but it helped me get a little bit further on down the road. So yeah, she screwed up. I screwed up, but she screwed up as well. All right, Michelle Moore, can you apply for American Ninja Warrior? Well, I guess I could apply, but let's put it this way. I don't think the producers of American Ninja Warrior look at me and say, that's the guy we want climbing that wall at the last. That's the guy we want swinging from the things. From a comedy standpoint, yeah, I'd be right in there with him. It'd be a short run, but I'm sure I'd make it quite the comedic effect when you see me trying to swing across the old rings and do some, hold on to those logs and doing some of what they do. Yeah, I'm probably not the top candidate for American Ninja Warrior, but theoretically, yes, I could apply, but a little further down on my list of shows that I think I could have some impact on. All right, Josh, why does the Big Brother house always have ants? I don't know, Josh. You would think that after so many seasons, they would they just fumigate everything for 100 yards around that sound stage. I don't know. I don't know if it's because it is just a sound stage. I don't know. Why does any house have ants? I don't know. And they always come in through the backyard. Maybe it's just because there's so many people just concentrated in there because you got food. Maybe because it is a movie studio and there aren't that many places that have real food as opposed to prop food and all that. Maybe the ants all over the CBS lot say, go to Soundstage 18. That's where they have the good stuff every summer. I don't know. But we did better than most seasons. Most seasons, they come in early within the first few weeks, it seems like, or at least halfway through the season. We didn't get ants in our season until maybe, I don't know, week 10 or so. The last month, maybe we had a few issues here and there, and they were never terrible. But we had a few weeks that were a little bit rough. Worse than the ants. We had one about week 5 or so. Someone, and I never did find out if this was intentional or what, but somehow some food maybe got set out or hidden somewhere that spoiled, and we never could find it. All I know is that for about a week or two, the area around the refrigerator was the most rank. Picture spoiled, rotten fish or beef. And we looked everywhere and we never could find it. And so, again, I don't know if maybe just some food fell off to the side that we didn't catch. Maybe someone intentionally did it as a bit of a prank. I never did find out, but we had to deal with the smells in that house much worse than the ants in that house at times. So, yeah, it's sorry, 756. That's amazing. All right, Ma saying, anyone tired of people comparing themselves to legendary players? I don't know. I'm not going to throw out any names. I'm not tired of it. There's a few people. Let's talk about last season. There's a few people who compared themselves to a few legendary players, such as Dr. Will, that I wasn't upset when they did it, but I got to say I probably rolled my eyes and laughed a little bit because there's not a whole lot of comparison. Yeah, I don't know. There certainly have been people who I felt were just a little too confident in their in their evaluation of how they played the game. Now, while you're in the house, you know, who knows who's telling the truth? Who knows who really thinks that and who's just saying that to try to buy themselves some credit in case they make it to jury? And, you know, whatever's said in the house is just said in the house. But once you get outside the house, yeah, I kind of laughed at some of the comments they've made here and there. I guarantee I'm never sitting there ever comparing my gameplay against anyone else, any of the icon legends or anything else, because I'm not ever going to be confident or cocky enough to do that. There's a lot of players that I look up to in the way they played the games, and I tried to model my game to some degree the way they played it. Although I feel like I played a little differently than a lot of people my age and everything have played in the past. But yeah, I'm not comparing myself to any of the legends because that's just setting yourself up for criticism. All right, let's see. What else? Now we know which soundstage they filmed Big Brother in. Anthony said, well, yeah, I don't feel like I'm the one that's spoiling that, Anthony. That's a lot of people have talked about that before. But yeah, there is a soundstage where they filmed that. It doesn't mean a lot because the security of that place, unless you're a wall yeller, people. But here's the thing: those wall yellers, they aren't on the CBS Sound lot. They're over somewhere else off the property yelling and all that, because the security is tight there. It was so cool to be on that show and get whisked through security and know that I'm getting to go inside kind of the hallowed ground of CBS studios to do this show. It really made me feel kind of important a little bit, if I do say so myself. Yeah, it was a cool feeling when they would just whisk us right on through, and I knew I was getting ready to play the Big Brother game. That was quite the adventure. All right, let's see. A couple of it's so live, it's so quick. I just love talking to y'all guys. One of these days we'll make it a 2-hour episode and we'll talk a little bit longer, but not tonight. We can't do it tonight. But a couple of things before I get out here. First of all, as I mentioned before, I'm not doing the Big Brother recaps anymore, the live feeds. Those would be a little boring since the show's over, right? But I am doing the Survivor recaps. And so, again, every Wednesday night or early Thursday morning, depending on what's going on, I'll drop an episode. So those of you who are watching Survivor, check me out on that. And I haven't played the game, but I still feel like I can kind of talk about some of the things that happen and who I like and who I don't like and all that. So check out my Survivor recaps. I'll probably be doing some more reality shows a little bit on down the road once I finish taking a long breath after the marathon Big Brother season and all that. And the other thing, a lot of y'all I know are already subscribers to my YouTube channel, but if you aren't, please subscribe because that way, if you do, then you'll get notifications anytime I drop a new episode of Survivor, of Big Brother Canada, whatever else we're gonna handle as we go on down the road. So please subscribe if you haven't done it already. And I don't know, I'll put a little in panel that has a place where you can hit and say subscribe here. I'm not sure how it works, but I'll do it for y'all. And with that, it's 8 o'clock and I'm going to shut it down. I'm going to finish it off with a big old SKD 143 once more. Can't say it enough. Love my wife, love my kids, love all of y'all out here. Thank you for the support. Thank you for joining in. And I hope I try to answer as many questions as I can on here on the comments. And for those of you I missed, sorry about that. Hey, send me a direct message on Twitter or Instagram, and I'm very active on those. I'll try to answer all my DMs as well. So if there's something that you're just dying to know that I missed, let me know, and I'll answer it. If you got suggestions or topics for next week's show, I'm open for that. Y'all know me. I'll talk about everything, but if you got specific topics, we'll include that. But until then, guys, y'all have a fantastic Monday night. The rest of the Monday night, have a fantastic rest of the week. Happy Thanksgiving to those of you Canadians out there. Enjoy your week, and I will see y'all Wednesday night for the Survivor recap, and again next Monday night for the next episode of Cliff Notes Live. Have a good one, my friends. Bye.